Ah, this is their striker. Please be good.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it's dark, I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Survival Specialist, and a brand new season, of course. If you've been enjoying the save up to this point, drop a like on the video. That would be spectacular. So, we all know how it ended at Albacete. It was a disappointment. But I mean, imagine if we did this Survival Specialist save and literally kept the club up every single time. I would almost say there's an element of unrealism about that, and I think that's why I wanted to make sure we took on a challenge like Albacete. And honestly, I do wonder if maybe we'd had a tiny bit more time, because it was certainly coming together towards the end and the results were starting to come. I think there was a few mistakes I definitely made in there as well. Just the little things that can cost you at times. But then also, we got a result against Barca. So it's like, yes, we lost that game against Oviedo, but the Barca result kind of balances it out. Maybe there was a little bit, I don't know. Regardless, I don't think we would have had to do a lot more due to the results that the other teams were getting as well. So it was just a bit of a no-win situation for us. But Kim's reputation remains intact. He learned a nice little bit of... Did he actually learn any Spanish at all? He's fluent in Spanish already, of course, having spent time at Osasuna as well. It's not been the best of times for Kim in Spain during this save. I think he was kind of glad to go back to Germany over the summer and just spend a bit of time with Mika. Now, it's the 1st of December this time. Yes, we're trying something a little bit different this time, and I think it's going to work out for the better. And that is to come back a little tiny bit earlier to hopefully be in a job before the start of the January transfer window, which means we get a bit of a transfer window. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to do huge moves because most of the clubs won't have giant transfer budgets, but also... scouting is quite, it can be time consuming, so we'll have to rely on what we can find. Maybe some loans, bring in a couple of players perhaps, but their budgets will be relatively small, but it's still nice to have that. I think that definitely helped when we were at Heidenheim to bring in a couple of loan signings. In addition, it should give us a little bit more time in charge of some of the clubs. Now, even if there's a winter break, we should be able to come back right at the very start, get some friendlies in, learn the tactic a little bit sooner, and maybe get a bit of a head start on that as well. Speaking of the tactic, someone posited, and I can't remember who this was, but a massive shout out to you, and I also do apologise for being a little bit lax with responding to the comments lately. It's something I need to get back to doing. It's just been an incredibly busy week with Showdown and stuff, but I'll get back on that as well, is having a mirrored version of our tactics. We don't actually change the tactic itself, it's just everything is flipped to the other side, just in case we find ourselves with an abundance of players that fit the style, but just on the opposite side. So we're right-sided ball winning midfielders, right-sided inside forwards, all that sort of jazz, might give us a bit of a leg up from time to time, and give us a bit more of a path to success. So we've got a bit more flexibility without actually having to change the way that we play, just being a bit more fitting towards the players. And I think had we done that maybe at Albacete, maybe we'd have done a little bit better. But there you go. And the other thing that we're going to be doing this time around is having a few more leagues on. Now, originally the idea with this save was to keep it a side up in the top flight of each of the 5 coefficiently largest leagues. However, with the limited amount of time remaining on FM, that is simply not going to be possible, I don't think. So what I've done now is I've turned on, they were already switched on, Liga NOS, the Eredivisie, the Russian Premier League, and the Belgian League, the Jupiler Pro League. I did think about doing the Championship, but I feel like if I'm going to put that in, we may as well have some of the other big European leagues instead, get a bit more flavour in there too. So that should give us plenty more job opportunities in the balance as well. Now, obviously, we can't go back to Germany, so we've got a lovely set of, I think, 6 or 7 leagues now to potentially pick for from some jobs. Now, there are a couple of jobs available already. And obviously there's a few more on the teetering on the edge. Now, we won't just take the first one that comes along, but we do want to make sure that we're kind of in a job by sort of early January, if we can, which gives us time. And in good news, Heidenheim were able to stay in the Bundesliga. They won the relegation playoff against Greuther Fürth from the previous season. Only 2-1, I think it was, on aggregate, but they did manage to stay up, which means Mika can keep her job and Kim can be very happy. At least they've had someone earning some money over the summer, while Kim has just been cutting about, doing a bit of gardening, playing a little bit of golf, having a lovely old time, trying to get Spain out of his system, really. Without any further ado, let us jump in and see what's on the job market today. So, as you can see, straight off the bat, there are 3 jobs on the table. Only 2 of them are actually viable, so to speak. The one that immediately stands out to me, though, is Den Haag. Den Haag, bottom of the Eredivisie, 6 points from safety after just under the halfway mark of the league. 10 points on the board after 16 games. It's not ideal. Worst goal difference in the entire division. That is far from ideal, but media prediction of 12th. I don't know what the season preview, sometimes this is slightly different. 13th on the media prediction, also on the season preview. So it definitely suggests to me that there's a better team in here than being bottom of the league and 6 points from safety. So that is definitely a job that I would very much consider. 6 points is a bigger gap than we've had before, but we'd have more time in order to actually turn it around. Just over half a season. Obviously, a slightly smaller league. It's a 34-game season. So we'd still have a good, 18 games to try and turn it around. That's a decent amount of games, I would say. So that's definitely something we're going to apply for straight away. Now, the others, we've got Chernotovo, who are in the Russian top flight as well. They're currently arguably in a worse position in many ways, particularly with the games in hand there. They might honestly be so far gone. I mean, not so far gone, obviously, but what is it, a 30-game season? A 30-game season in Russia. Obviously, they could still get into this spot ahead of Torpedo, potentially, and have the relegation playoff spot in there too. I think that's how it works. I've never managed in Russia before. Needless to say, they're 7 points from automatic safety and have played a game more with only 10 matches to spare. Another thing that makes me a bit concerned about that is that they don't play their next game until the 3rd of March, which might be a little bit more complex for us, and we'd only have 10 games in charge of the club. So I don't know if Russia would be the best option for us right now. Certainly something I might revisit, but I think I might just skip it on this particular occasion. I mean, it's really, really difficult to say, but I think at the moment the Den Haag one interests me the most. Now, as for job security, there are a couple of other jobs knocking about that are interesting, you could say. So the biggest ones, I would say, Brighton, although they're not available to us, this is the other one that is an interesting one. Montpellier. They're currently 5 points from safety and in the relegation zone in Ligue 1. Montpellier. That's a big side to be down there and having that kind of trouble. They haven't sacked the manager yet, but it does suggest to me, that's not March because that's where we're on with Russia, they'll have plenty more league games to come, I would say. They've got plenty more league games, so I think their manager could take a hit any day now, potentially. Particularly as their next game is at home against PSG. So they could find themselves even deeper in the hole, and that might well be the straw that breaks the Montpellier's back. So that certainly stands out to me. There's some other sides struggling down in Russia as well as in the Eredivisie as well. The only other team in there, I don't know how bad this is going to be for them, potentially, is SES Sport in the Belgian top flight. I've genuinely never heard of them. So they've never been a top flight side, I don't suspect. Maybe they have, like, in the long distant past. But they were promoted to the top flight in Belgium in 2034, having come up from the 3rd tier, I think, at the start of the save. Founded in 1942. Now, for all I know, they maybe have, but it does appear that they've been in the lower leagues of Belgium for a long, long time. But that would be quite some challenge, taking over a team that have literally not won a game all season and currently sit 10 points from safety. But those jobs aren't available for us just right now. We're going to apply for the Den Haag job and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We can delay. No doubt they'll take bloody ages to get back to us anyway. It's what teams do. As it happens, I think if we were to have applied for either of the clubs, the Russian clubs, I think we would have just got that the position has already been filled email, because they've both appointed managers this Saturday. So I think we would have been too late anyway. You do get that sometimes. They've obviously been sacked a little while ago, so I think that was already a no-go. I would still lean towards one of these other leagues, like a Belgium or a Netherlands at the moment, just because I've never managed in any of those leagues on FM, crazily, where after all these years, and I've only managed in France once, I think, and that was with Paris FC Paris FC. That's taken a turn. So there is another, in fact, two jobs have come up in Belgium, Sint-Truidense, I'm sorry for my pronunciations, and the SES Sport people. Also Vajim in Portugal, but I think they might be too high. Yes, they are, incredibly. They would actually be too high up in order to make anything happen there. But I see no problem with applying for the SES Sport job. I think that might just be a bit of a stretch for us. Okay. Den Haag, with Sherban Stan, the chairman, with his lovely grey hair there and his nice little beard. They want to do an interview with us, so let's do it. Okay, let's see what issues they're going to have. Never managed in this country. Standard. Hang on. That's the director we're talking to. The chairman's just like, I am too big for this. This may be part of your problem, sir. Media controversies. God, must be from, honestly, I swear this is actually from the Osasuna days, that they still brought this up. Battle against relegation. I'm interested in the budgets now, potentially. £1.1 million. Ooh, bloody hell. It could be a loan spell. 300 that's fine, but we don't really know how much of that is actually left. The fact that there is a transfer budget suggests that we'd at least be able to move something in. Now, I know some of you wanted to see some transfer windows as part of this. It's still going to be difficult because money exists, and it do be tough out there. Although, maybe a couple of loans from some of the big Dutch sides could help us. Okay then, right, well that's that one in the pipeline already. Really quick, 3 days it took them. I mean, even with a 2-week delay, there's potential for something here. Like, wow, okay. The Dutch, I've heard all about German efficiency, but honestly, I'm not seeing it in this game at all. They take forever. Den Haag are just like, no, we want you. Literally 8 days from job application to job interview to, hey, come into the club. Fair play. Just going to check the sort of fixture situation here as well. See if there's a winter break. I actually don't know much about the Netherlands and the Dutch league itself. So there does appear to be a little winter break. Just after the end of December through to sort of the end of January, which actually wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. To have a little winter break there, few friendlies, get used to the tactic if this is the team we go to. There's still a few league games left as well this side of Christmas as before, which is cool. Oh, you can sort of see why they struggled. Like, that was, what, 5 consecutive league defeats? And no wins since literally September when they beat Roda, who are also down there in trouble. Be forewarned, if we take the job at Den Haag, my pronunciations are going to struggle. Having never managed in the Netherlands, I've never managed to pick up quite how to pronounce a lot of Dutch names yet. This will be a chance for me, maybe. The Dutchies can help me out. That'll be the 23rd, so that'll be right before the Feyenoord game. Okay, I can see nothing wrong with that. The thing that also pleases me about the idea of Den Haag is that this looks like a brand new stadium as well. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, 2027, so 21,500 seats. Their system on here, at the very least, is exactly the same shape that we use. And this guy's very deep, which does make me kind of happy as it goes. So that could be... They might fit in quite nicely with our style, which is very ideal. Oh, that looks like a lot of sackings. That is a lot of sackings. Oh, my goodness gracious me. That's a lot of sackings. Are any of them actually applicable to us? Brighton, no. Montpellier, emphatic yes. So that's what we were expecting to happen. They lost to PSG, and then they were like, yeah, that's not good enough. You can't beat PSG. What can you do? What was the scoreline? Oh, they actually lost to PSG and Son Etienne now. Oh, it's still only 5 points from safety, to be fair to them. But that's will definitely apply. But I don't know what it is. I'm just intrigued by the Den Haag job at the moment. I know it's the first one that's come up, but that's not the first time we've done that. I tend to not do that just because I like to see what else is out there. But I don't know. Part of me would... let's just see how they're doing, actually. Did they win by any... Oh, dear. They're in even deeper trouble at the moment. I think they might have lost to Heracles. No, they drew 1-1, but other teams down the Pexvolle actually won. But they do have the relegation playoff in the Netherlands too, so that could give us a bit of hope, potentially. This guy's just taken over at Academia Pandev. That isn't actually the reason that this is interesting to me. For those of you that have not seen this, look at their stadium. Oh yeah, absolutely brilliant. Wonderful ground they've got going on. I still maintain to this day that someone was using the wrong camera on their phone and actually the stadium's behind them and they were trying to take a selfie. That's all I can imagine. So the Belgians have offered us a job interview. We might as well humour them. Have a lovely little trip to Belgium. I don't even know where Thespor are based. Tessenderlo. Avoid finishing... I don't think I've ever seen avoid finishing bottom of the league as a requirement before. Also, that seems difficult, given that I think, there might be like 10 points off the next best team. £55,000 transfer budget. Wow. Wait, they are really punching above their weight in the top flight. It's incredible they stayed in it for as long as they have. Okay, so Montpellier have actually now come in, which makes sense. £500,000. Wow, that's incredible that Montpellier have a lower transfer budget available than Den Haag. And their wage budget is actually surprisingly not that much higher. One of the big kickers for me when convincing me that Montpellier is the option over them was going to be if they came in and said hey, we've got £6-7 million that you could potentially use. Now, that would still be tough in France, but it would at least give us room to wiggle. That is not a lot of money. Not that money is the be-all and end-all in this save, after all. It's more about us trying to build out with the tactics we already have and the players we've got. That's part of the fun for me. Okay, so, hang on, no, I thought this was going to be Den Haag, but it's not. It's the Belgian friends. Their situation is, I believe the technical term is bleak. No wins this season. They expect to somehow not finish bottom of the league despite being 10 points from it and having not won a game all season. I mean, I'll delay it anyway, but I think that might be a bit too much of a stretch even for us. So there's Den Haag. There's Den Haag. So it's the Friday, and how is the schedule looking for them at the moment? So they actually got through to the third round of the Cup, which is impressive, on penalties, interestingly. Their form surprisingly sort of turned up a little bit. They got a win in the league, then they drew with PSV Eindhoven, and then got a draw against... Okay, that's not so great, but their form is actually turning itself around a little bit at the moment. I wonder how they'd get on against Vitesse, who are notoriously quite decent in this save, having won the league. As the situation is at the moment, this is an interesting one, because I'm looking at this from a kind of... macro perspective right now. Given the situations with Montpellier and Den Haag, at the moment, I would definitely favour Den Haag for 2 reasons. One, there's a tiny bit more money for us to work with in the January transfer window. Not a lot, but it's a tiny fraction more. Their situation down at the bottom, as far as the relegation playoff, is definitely an achievable goal, and maybe even more than that, because they have maybe underperformed a tiny little bit. The reason I would be tempted to actually take over the job now is because it would give us 2 games before the winter break, particularly a game at home to start off with, and maybe just the more time the better in a job like this. That will allow us to play those 2 games, then have a nice transfer window video as well, where we can come back for Fortuna Sittard, maybe Willem Twey in there as well, to be honest with you, because we're not going to get that much time as well. It would just give us more time in charge of the club. Obviously, taking over the day before the game is not ideal, but I don't see us getting another job offer between now and next week, other than maybe Montpellier, but I think of the 2, I would still choose Den Haag. And what I would say is, this guy, Kylian Monnier, look at this. The man is scoring in virtually... Okay, there's a few penalties in there. He's scoring virtually every goal the club are getting, which is a good sign that they've got a striker that can bury goals, and that's what we're going to need, really. I am tempted to break from my normal traditions of the double delay and actually go for the job now, so we can get in before the Vitesse game and maybe get a chance at a sneaky win before we have to play Feyenoord, because otherwise we'd just be taking over straight into that Feyenoord game anyway. That's probably the way this is going to go, because I don't see any other jobs coming up and being able to offer us an interview in the next week, really, particularly as a lot of teams will be potentially leaving for winter breaks very soon. I think this is something I'm going to go for. I think we're going to go to ADO, again, apologies, Den Haag over in the Netherlands. It's going to be a tough task for us, keeping them in the top flight from this position anyway, given that, yes, they're 3 points from here, but they're also 7 points from automatic safety. And, you know, those relegation playoffs are still a complete lottery that you could very easily lose, because I think there's a kind of cool system in the Netherlands with those, is there not? Where it's not just a single game. You go into like a playoff with a playoff. I don't really know how it works. I'm kind of excited by this prospect. Plus, the club colours, a bit of yellow and green. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to take the Den Haag job, and we're going to do a little bit of a ditty over in the Netherlands. I know there's quite a lot of Dutch viewers as well that have never actually managed to get a chance to see me manage in the Netherlands, so I think this might be a nice little opportunity for us to do that, to finish off FM21. So I think we're going to start negotiations here. It's a lot lower wage than what we've been on at previous clubs, but that makes total sense from where we are. 2-year deal. And for Kim's sake, he's not going to be too far away from... Well, actually, I don't know how far he'd be away from Mika. I'd like to think he's a bit closer than he was when he was in Spain, nevertheless. So I think we're just going to finalise that deal and have a little look through this team and the way we've got to go with it, because this could be a nightmare. We just don't know. But getting the job done early, a couple of games before Christmas, transfer window, a bit of chance to build something out before the end of the season. Boom! There we go! Oh, lovely stuff. Okay, so in trouble right now is the current situation. But the media prediction of 12th, the season preview of 13th, I think there's definitely a team here that with the right tactical improvements and maybe a few little extra players coming in from other sides could definitely do a job and keep them in the top flight. They're a consistent top flight side, are they not? I didn't really look at that, actually. Let's go. So this is a good sign, although, to be fair, I think they said this last time as well, and it was a bit of a lie. Plus, they're sponsored by both a motor vehicle and a clothing item. They're just cramming them all in there. So, Dutch viewers, best thing you could do for me right now would be, instead of like telling me how to pronounce certain words, are there any like obvious pitfalls when it comes to pronouncing Dutch names and stuff that I should be looking to fall into, like certain letter combinations that are pronounced kind of interestingly that I want to try and get used to, because this is it's a learning moment for all of us. Okay, season expectations. Well, I don't know. That feels achievable, and it would give us a tiny little bit more transfer budget to work with in this period, and a bit more wage too. And look, actually, to be fair, look how much they're underspending their wage budget. That would be good for loan signings, potentially, because we can pay their full wages. I'd be tempted to actually go for relegation, but I think that's achievable as a realistic target. The situation here is still far from ideal. 2 wins in their first 18 games. Now, who were they actually against out of interest? So they beat NEC and they beat Roda. I mean, actually, that's quite a decent result for them, to be fair. So, okay, it gives you a bit of hope that they've got something in them, and we play Vitesse literally tomorrow as part of that as well. And to be fair, like, they're the sort of 7th biggest league in Europe, so that's definitely something. And actually, the more I look at this, wow, that is yo-yo material. Look at that. Relegated, promoted, relegated, promoted, relegated, promoted. 6 in a row. Then they start to establish themselves and had a lovely little spell on the top flight, finishing as high as 8th one season, which is very impressive. I don't know if that's their like record finish. It's probably not. Probably historically they've done better than that. But then they were relegated not that long ago, in fact, and only came back to the top flight 2 years ago, but 10th in their first season. So they've definitely improved in there. Best ever finish, it would seem, is Eredivisie, 3rd place in the 1970s. And clearly had a solid side throughout the 70s, because there's a lot of high Eredivisie finishes in the 70s. So they've never come higher than 3rd, but still, that's pretty impressive. Although, actually, that's total nonsense, because they've won the Eredivisie in the 1940s, so disregard. It's just because FM doesn't have that stuff baked in. So actually, these guys have won the cup twice in the 60s and the 70s, and also won 2 league titles. Is that during the Second World War? So, finances, let's have a look. They said they're secure. £7 million in the bank. Transfer budget, they're actually making a bit of a loss, but sure. £1.5 billion in transfer budget. What are we doing here? £100,000 available in wage budget. There's a couple of extra clauses we could put in. How much are we looking at? Only 40k for that one, and I imagine this is going to be even less. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so now what really matters. The squad. Oh, what? Look at the ages on some of their best players. That is insane. Although, wow. Oh, no, hang on. Here we go. This isn't quite so bad. Although you can see, look at the underperformances from every single one of these guys. So just looking at high ability, this guy here, obviously we'll get the faces put in for next time. Whoa! Oh my God! Youth prospect, Nude Anoki, bloody hell, he is a future Dutch international, surely. What a player. And he will slot perfectly into that advanced playmaker role that sits as that pivot. Holy Christ. Wants to move to a bigger club. Yeah, I don't blame him. Then there's also this guy here who, oh, he's a defensive midfielder. Only has 11 tackling, annoyingly. But he would probably protect, although he could play the left. Actually, what's he like as a mez? He's not awful, honestly. Tackling is still a bit of a problem. But then that seems to be, no matter which midfield role he'd occupy, it would still be a bit of a problem. And he has good consistency. And he's a wonder kid. I mean, yeah. He might arguably be better than the right back that we won the Champions League with at Sassuolo. That is not a joke. This might be, maybe I'm being a bit hyperbolic there. He is on the verge of being as good as the right back that we won the Champions League with, who's left-sided, right only. His finishing isn't superb, but he is. This is looking like a team that could definitely play our basic standard version of the tactic and not have to use the mirrored version. Mercenary personality, which isn't ideal. These are all youth prospects. Every single one of these guys came through their youth academy. Oh my goodness. Then there's Vito Vidmar, who is another youth prospect. A Slovenian right-sided player, because he was left-footed. So he, that could be, maybe the mirrored version will definitely have its purposes for this. Slovenian. Then we've got, he's an Icelandic player. You love to see an Icelandic player. It's what you need in every one of these things. This is Oli Baldur Severson, who did not come through their youth. The first player we've checked that isn't from their own youth academy. That's insane. Came through at IBK Keflavik over in Iceland. Great consistency. Again, lovely physicals, decent mentals. He's 26, so he's slightly older. 22 caps for Iceland. Wow. This is their striker. Please be good. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Kylian Monnier, who has 17 finishing and 16 composure. Doesn't like big matches, which kind of sucks, and he is only left-footed, but that doesn't matter anymore because of the new version of the tactic that we've been playing. He's quick as all hell. He's great. He's just an absolute finishing machine. Passing and vision aren't even that awful. Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me. Another left-sided player. Although, actually, yeah, he's got good tackling. Well, better than our other guy, anyway. Max Roshoivel, insane again. Another youth player. Edward Ibrahim. That's better. May only be 6 foot, but he's got decent jumping reach, great aggression and bravery. Heading, marking's not a great. Tackling's superb. That's more like it. Okay, Edward Ibrahim is decent. Sami Agha is the goalkeeper. Okay. He's got no eccentricity, which actually doesn't bother me too much. He's 6'2", incredible reflexes, great aerial reach, great handling, great one-on-one. Wow. Then they've got this guy, Tim Dela, who, again, has some very nice attributes. I wonder if he'd be good as a mez, actually. Lacks a bit of finishing, but he actually might be a better option in the midfield as the mez. Okay, so here's the left back. Wim van Duin, great name. He could... and he's a natural wing back too. Florian Grant, another striker, and again, he's not even that bad either. Wow, they've got a lot of French strikers about. Even the club atmosphere isn't that bad. Team cohesion, solid managerial support is actually not too bad either, although this is a worry. That could cause us problems in January, friends. And there's a few more players here knocking about in the under-21 side who look absolutely ridiculous too. He's 18 years old. 18 years old. Nicholas Johnson, or Jonsson, I'm guessing, even though it does actually have the H in it. Look at him. And if you go down even further, there's a 17-year-old who looks like he came through the youth academy literally last year, or maybe the year before. Xavier Maddy. Finally found Maddy. He is... he's going to be ridiculous one day, surely. It's kind of like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of an analogy for what's going on here. It's almost like, being a mechanic or something, and someone brings a car in and it looks like it's in an absolute shit state, like dirty, looks like there's a lot of problems with it, and then you realise it's minor cosmetic damage. And that seems to be the situation right now. It's one of the reasons I don't like to look too deep into things before we actually join the clubs. So sometimes we get the surprise, and the surprise can either be good or terrible, and I quite like that factor, so we're not just trying to, min-max, I suppose, ourselves, which I guess when you're Kim Min is something he's always trying to do. He's just trying to min-min at that point, but bloody hell, I am excited, really. I think we've definitely... I want to look for another centre. Actually, let me know in the comments where you think this team could do with strengthening, bearing in mind limited budget. Like, our budget is probably going to be closer to 2 million, maybe, if I can sell one of these. Although I don't know how much of that we actually get. Can I see that? 80%. So we'd probably get this up to maybe 1.6, 1.7 million potentially, with a decent amount of wage budget. Obviously, I'm going to prioritise loans because it's important to do that. But I still think there's going to be room for permanent signings, or if we have to pay a loan fee, we can do. For me, personally think that a centre-back is a key. element of this team that's going to be required. Another centre-back to really give us a bit more strength there, because clearly they're leaking goals. So that's going to help. Next episode, my friends, we're going to be coming back for Vitesse, and then against Feyenoord. We've got Vitesse literally tomorrow. And then after that, we're going to dig into a bit of transfer stuff. We'll get some friendlies going, really learn the tactic. I'm looking at these two games here as maybe there's a chance we could get something against Vitesse. I don't know, particularly we're going to be missing Anoki, which isn't ideal. He appears to have picked up a knock, or a twisted ankle in this case, or a knocky, as it were. And then after that, we'll have a nice little chance to get some friendlies in, build the tactical familiarity up a little bit before we take on Fortuna Sittard in the Cup, and then start to come back and really get this season going. Because there's still a full half of the season left, our run-in is as strong as or as weak as anybody else's, really. Although playing PSV on that final day of the season, that could be difficult. So hopefully we're in a stronger position by then. I'm excited about this, friends. So, if you're looking forward to us playing as Adeo, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced or whatever, Den Haag, then I'm excited with you. So, join us tomorrow for Vitesse and Feyenoord in the Dutch top flight. It's going to be poggers. I will see you guys very, very soon. As always, if you've enjoyed this, drop a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and on Saturday, but not the Saturdays in the way. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.
I can be a fighter.